Welcome back to this Lenten devotional series based on Mark's Gospel. For day 36, we'll read Mark 14, 53 and 54, and then 66 through 72. They took Jesus to the high priest, and all the chief priests, the elders, and the scribes were assembled. Peter had followed him at a distance right into the courtyard of the high priest, and he was sitting with the guards, warming himself at the fire. While Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came by. When she saw Peter warming himself, she stared at him and said, "You also were with Jesus, the man from Nazareth." But he denied it, saying, "I do not know or understand what you're talking about." And he went out into the forecourt. Then the cock crowed, and the servant girl, on seeing him, began again to say to the bystanders, "This man is one of them." But again he denied it. Then after a little while the bystanders again said to Peter, "Certainly you are one of them, for you are a Galilean." But he began to curse, and he swore an oath, "I do not know this man you are talking about." At that moment the cock crowed for the second time. Then Peter remembered that Jesus had said to him, "Before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." And he broke down and wept. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Here's how it works with public figures. If they do something that may tarnish their image, then they pressure the press to make the story go away, or at least they try to get out front of the story with some spin that makes it seem not quite so stark. And here is how the gospel works. No squashing of the story and no spin. Just a straight-up description of a hideous failure. Peter was not exactly a public figure when Jesus was put on trial. But 3 decades later, when Mark wrote this gospel, Peter was very much a public figure in the church, the leading apostle. So it's amazing that this painfully frank description of his failure is even included. And it couldn't be included if Peter himself had not told the details. But he did. And that tells us something surprising about the nature of the gospel, that the full magnitude of its good news becomes apparent when we behold the painful part of the story straight on. And here is the pain straight on. Jesus had warned Peter of his potential denial, but he denied him anyway, and just a few hours later. And there's more. While Jesus stood strong before the power brokers of Israel and the soldiers that were beating him, Peter was cowering before a mere servant girl. The contrast is stark, and there's more. Peter's denials just kept getting stronger until he denied with a curse that he even knew Jesus. It hurts just to read it. But here's how the painful part of the story adds to the good news. There is no way that Peter could have told the hideous details of this story had he not been touched deeply by stunning grace. Jesus had brought him back even from such a hideous failure. Given our tendency to deny Jesus and his ways when confronted with even the smallest of challenges, this is very good news indeed. Thanks be to God that through Jesus, even these most painful failures of our lives are overcome by his grace and become part of the good news for us. Here are a couple of questions to ponder as you look back over these verses. When was a time you sought to be incognito as a Christian? What was at stake that led you to pretend that you are other than you are? If we follow Jesus, our lives become abundant, and the quality of our lives becomes part of our witness. How then can our worst failures also be part of our witness? God bless you.